Hi, I'm Paris, and I woke up this last Christmas to a very unpleasant surprise, completely unrelated to a visit by Santa. When I woke up and turned my phone on, I saw I had a number of emails waiting for me. I was out of town traveling at that moment, and they were all from Amazon, thanking me for my purchases that I hadn't made. Now, not too long before our trip, I had received an email from some company saying, oh, your data has been detected on the dark web. You should sign up for our security service. You know, one of those things you pay no attention to. Till that Christmas morning, I thought, somebody's got the login and password and has hacked into my Amazon account and is sending themselves who knows what. So I opened up the first email and they had sent themselves a book. And the next email, they were all books, which seems kind of strange for someone, rather than sending themselves expensive electronics, to send themselves books. It was a very erudite thief that was stealing from my account. So I ran and grabbed my laptop, logged into my Amazon account, which I was still able to do, and immediately changed the password, changed the security question, and looked in the order screen, and sure enough, there they were, all those orders. But they weren't exactly for books, they were for e-books. And I thought, well, does this make any sense? But then it kind of did, because if you ship to a new address, sometimes Amazon will be a little wary if it doesn't match your credit card address and you have to put in more info. So I thought, well, okay, this is the only thing they've found that they're able to steal on my account, because you can have the electronic books delivered electronically anywhere. So clicked the help button and had to say if my issue was one that was already listed in the knowledge base. Anyway, went through the whole thing, finally got a person to come up on the chat screen and told them I think my account's been hacked into. So these purchases were all made during the night. None of them were made by me. Can we cancel these out? So they put me on hold and they took a look. And they said, your account hasn't been hacked into as far as we can tell. All of these purchases were made on your Kindle device. Well, I had my Kindle right next to me. I'd been reading on it just the night before. So how could someone have stolen the ebooks on my Kindle? They said, well, it's the Kindle name is, and they told me the name of it. It was actually a Kindle I had bought for my father years ago. He had published a couple books. Well, he wrote them. I had them published on the Kindle format. So we wanted him to have copies of those for himself. So I bought him a Kindle, logged in with my account, bought his book so he could at any time go and see his books or show them off to people. But he's not very good with electronics, and I don't know that after we showed him how to use it and we left, that he ever actually turned it back on and used it again. And then last May, he fell and broke his hip, had to go in for surgery, had to go in for weeks of rehabilitation, decided it would be easier to go into an assisted living place. I was back and forth to Seattle many times last year, taking care of moving his stuff, setting up his new apartment and so forth. Didn't run across the Kindle. It's possible it ended up in a box of stuff to not keep, might have gone to Goodwill. So this was sort of the figuring out that came later. At the time, I was concerned that maybe one of the caregivers who came into his apartment might have taken it. We'd not had any problems with that, so it was worrisome if that was the case. And there was no way to really tell. I could look at the titles of the books that were purchased. They were divided between things like how to interrogate anyone and get them to tell you anything, how to disassemble and reassemble your Glock handgun, kawaii crafts you can make at home, and some other DIY craft books. So I was looking for maybe a kawaii gunslinger. In any case, I asked the Amazon agent if they could cancel them. They said it wouldn't be any problem, but I had to give them all the order numbers, so copy and pasting got it all into their system, and they said all the orders would be reversed and the charges reversed. And since I said that Kindle was no longer in my possession or my family member's possession, they said they would deregister it from my account, so there'd be no chance of any further charges coming back to me. And so whether it was stolen, whether it went to Goodwill and somebody bought it, and when they charged it up, they said, hey, look at this, I can buy books on this Kindle. Whatever the story was behind it, they did get a Kindle out of the deal, but they weren't getting a library financed by me. So when I finished that with the agent, I finally felt better. It was a pretty worrisome Christmas morning, but I went back into my Amazon account and I looked, I saw there's a little tab for devices, and I looked there and I could not believe under Kindle how many devices it showed. It showed every Kindle device that I had owned, which maybe is 4 or 5, oldest one back like this one, Kindle Fire tablets that I had logged into and are probably somewhere here in my home. Of course, my current Paperwhite Kindle. my current phone, which I also sometimes read on, and 3 or 4 of my previous phones, which I had logged into and also used the Kindle app on. So every single one of those devices was still logged into my account, and with a little button that says one click, buy now for any book that anyone who got a hold of those devices would like to buy. That's something I never considered, and perhaps you haven't considered either, that all those devices listed in your Amazon account all have access to buy things on your account. And if they're Kindle devices, they probably can't buy electronics. I wonder if they could buy a new Kindle on there. I don't know, it's so worrisome, but they could definitely buy a bunch of books that would be charged to you. And with old electronics, they get thrown in a drawer eventually. Oh, let's clean up the house. The stuff goes to Goodwill. It's out of power. You can't even turn it on. Somebody buys it. They charge it up with their phone charger. When they start it up, there it is, logged into your account and ready to go shopping. So if you're a Kindle user, it wouldn't hurt to go into your Amazon account on your computer and go down to your account and click on devices and see what's in there. If you have old devices you're not using anymore, go and deregister those devices before you get a Christmas surprise. So that was the first Kindle swindle I suffered over the holidays. The second you might not consider a swindle, but it kind of felt like that to me. So I started reading a new author while I was on holiday. I like to find some new fiction to read usually when I'm on vacation. And generally I like sci-fi, but these books are more just plain fiction, but they're set in the near future and some disaster happens on Earth and people are trying to survive it, that sort of thing. So the first book was good enough that I was interested, and I don't know if you use the Kindle regularly, you notice that they keep a close watch on what you're reading, how long you're reading, when you're reading, because they can give you all those stats if you want to see them. And they saw that I read this whole book through over the course of several days. And so a couple days later, I get a message on the Kindle app telling me that for a limited time, there's a special price on another novel by that author. And you'll click here to read the free 10-page sample. So I did that. It was $1.99. So I thought, okay, I want to read this story. So I will get the $1.99 book. Got the book, downloaded it, read it. And as I got to like 60-70% through, which they tell you on the Kindle how far through the book you are, I thought, how in the world is he going to finish up this story in the amount of book that's left? Kept reading, 80-90%. We got so much more stuff to resolve here. What exactly is the deal? And when I got to the end of it, it was, well, that was the first part of the story. So it's the next book continues the story, but really it's the same story. And there was no indication when they advertised that book to me that I wasn't going to get to finish the story for my $1.99. But the next book that I need to read to finish that story is, I think, like $7.99. And even if I get that second book, now I'm wondering, is that going to finish the story? Is there a third book that might be $9.99? So I got started because there was an ad for this story for $1.99, but I don't get to finish that story for $1.99. It's at least another $7.99, possibly more money after that. So I felt a little ripped off with that because it wasn't clear that if you want to see the end of this story, you're going to be buying additional books. But two can play at that game. So now I'm in the waiting game with Kindle. How long do I have to wait before I'll get that second book instead of at $7.99? They'll offer it to me for $1.99 because they think I'm not that interested in seeing what the end of the story is, but I'm so interested in knowing what the end of the story was. Again, it's not the best writing, but I invested the time, the hours to read through, and my original $1.99. I want to know what's going to happen, and I don't want to pay more than another $1.99. So if you're a regular Kindle user, I'd love to hear your experience if you see the same kind of thing happening. If you have some tips for me on how to get them to offer me that next book at a cheaper price, I'd love that. Please comment down below this video and I'll see you on the next review.